We've already saved the world a few times from nasty viruses, helped find the cures for diseases ravaging Iberian Peninsula in the 19th century, and even fought horrible Cthulhu-type creatures. This time, our job is to protect the Netherlands from massive floods in Pandemic Rising Tide. Faithful to the Pandemic series' successful gameplay, this standalone episode encourages planning and cooperation between players. It features, however, a different challenge since we're fighting a unique type of threat, water. Water relentlessly appears on the board coming from the two seas bordering the country and from torrential rains across the different regions. Building new dikes, reinforcing the ones already in place, and constructing new pumps can only buy some time until the team is finally able to build the 4 hydraulic structures required to win the game. As always, players all have a specific role, which grant them special powers vital to keep them afloat. The carpenter may build dikes in flooded regions, the portmaster can easily build ports, which are useful to move quickly across the board, the pump operator is able to remove water from an adjacent region, and so on. It's only by moving smartly across the board and by exchanging cards at the right moment that players stand a chance to build the structures and eventually beat the game before water takes over the Netherlands. And it won't be easy. Even the introductory game, which asks for fewer storm cards, is pretty hard to beat because of the way water quickly flows from regions to regions. Unless a dike can stop it, water will always flow towards an adjacent region. It only takes a split second of inattention or an unfortunate storm to end up with most of the country several feet deep underwater. In that regard, Pandemic Rising Tide's challenge is intense and engaging, especially since it's possible to replace the original victory conditions with new goals in order to tackle a slightly different challenge each time, such as avoiding too many population losses. That being said, Pandemic Rising Tide has some issues, starting with some questionable aesthetic choices which get in the way of the game experience. For instance, for the first time in the series, the cities are replaced with regions drawn following a realistic approach, meaning we have to deal with all the curvy frontier lines and even rivers deceptively cutting regions in two. To make things worse, the colors are extremely pale, the dikes don't really fit on the borderlines, and the names are all in Dutch. Hands down, Pandemic Rising Tide's board is the series' most confusing board to play with. The game would surely have benefited from a more abstract design and a stronger contrast to show the 4 main areas more clearly on the board. As is, the first few plays are sadly more confusing than enjoyable. Players will have to work hard to slowly take their marks and hopefully get used to the layout of the board for lack of being really comfortable with it. Pandemic Rising Tide is an odd episode. At its core, the game manages to rely on the many strengths of the series and adapt them to the new Dutch setting, but served on the board that is, yes, pretty, but which suffers from poor readability, the game has issues. Pandemic Rising Tide asks for a little bit more dedication and intellectual effort from the players that only true fans of the series may be motivated to give.